My name is Patrick McCabe. Growing up, I had some of the worst teeth you could imagine, atrociously bad. I was constantly embarrassed about my smile, hiding it behind my hand or avoiding close-up photos. It wasn't just the way they looked that caused me trouble, but the pain I often felt. My dentist visits were a nightmare, filled with uncomfortable procedures and treatments that seemed never-ending. Because of that, and a few other reasons, I had to get my wisdom teeth pulled out much later than most people. While most folks get theirs removed in high school or early college, I didn't even consult a dentist until after I graduated. In a way, I was putting it off, convinced that things would somehow get better on their own, but they never did. Eventually, I had to face the fact that I couldn't avoid it any longer. The whole process was excruciating. The thought of someone digging around in my mouth, especially after years of neglect, was enough to make my stomach churn. I'm not going to go into the details of my recovery, but let me tell you, there was one thing you should know. The pain was so unbearable that I couldn't sleep through the night without pain medication. It wasn't just discomfort. It was intense, sharp agony that seemed to strike without warning. So, I developed a system. Every 3 hours, I'd wake up to take another pill, alternating between the two medications I was prescribed. It was awful, but it was the only way I could avoid these agonizing toothaches that had me in tears. I felt like I was in some kind of endless loop. I'd sleep for 3 hours, wake up, take more pills, and fall back asleep only to repeat the process. As you can imagine, my sleep schedule became a nightmare. My body got used to sleeping for 3 hours at a time, then waking up for a short period and going back to sleep. I felt like a zombie, constantly exhausted but unable to rest properly. Even after the recovery was over, I had trouble returning to normal. I was physically drained, but my body didn't know how to reset. It was honestly the worst part of the whole ordeal, the lack of normal sleep. I didn't feel human anymore. I felt like I was living in a fog, barely able to function from one day to the next. It was like I was trapped in some sort of cycle I couldn't escape. The worst part was how long it lasted. It wasn't just a couple of bad nights, it went on for weeks. And it took much longer than I ever expected to start feeling like myself again. One night, it was around 4 a.m. during the first week of recovery. I had just woken up to take my meds, and for some reason, I couldn't get back to sleep. The room felt hotter than usual. The AC had stopped working, and I couldn't shake the heat. I tossed and turned, feeling like I was suffocating in the thick, humid air. After a while, I decided I couldn't lie there anymore. I had to do something. I opened my window, hoping the cool night air would help. That helped a little, but I still couldn't sleep. As I lay there, praying for sleep to come, I started hearing a strange noise from outside. At first, I thought it was just a normal outdoor sound, something I wasn't used to since I usually kept my window closed. But the more I listened, the more it sounded like scratching, like claws dragging on something. Then, the sound moved above me, from the roof. I froze, trying to process what I was hearing. My mind raced as I tried to make sense of it. I was sure it was some animal, a raccoon or something, messing around up there. My family lives in a woodsy area, so we've had our share of critters causing trouble. Raccoons, squirrels, you name it. But something about this felt different. The noise wasn't random. It had a rhythm to it, like it was purposeful. I thought about ignoring it, but I knew my dad would be furious if an animal got into the attic again. So, reluctantly, I got up, grabbed one of my dad's heavy-duty flashlights, and went outside to check it out. As I stepped out into the cool air, I felt a chill run down my spine. Something wasn't right, but I couldn't explain why. My instincts told me to be careful. I started shining the flashlight on the roof, but I didn't see anything. I walked around the house, scanning the roof, trying to catch sight of whatever animal had made the noise. The shadows were thick, and my flashlight beam barely cut through the darkness. When I reached the front of the house, I saw something move in the beam of my flashlight. I had to double. My mind was racing, thinking I was just imagining things. But no, I saw it again. There was something moving. My heart skipped a beat as I snapped the light toward the movement, and to my horror, I saw a person standing on the roof. Not an animal, not a group of them, but a fully grown human being. Naked, frozen in the beam of my flashlight. I couldn't breathe. My mind couldn't process what I was seeing. I screamed, my voice echoing through the night. The figure didn't move. It just stood there, staring at me, or at least, that's what I thought. The moment I screamed, the person started moving. They were impossibly fast, too fast to be human, especially barefoot on an uneven roof. The person started moving back toward my room, and I instinctively ran to intercept them. I don't know why, should have just gone inside and locked the door. But something deep inside me wouldn't let me back down. I called for my dad, hoping he would get outside in time to help me. My heart was racing, and fear gripped me like a vice. My mind was screaming to retreat, to get away from whatever this was, but my feet carried me forward anyway. I reached the back of the house just in time to see the person preparing to jump off the roof. I couldn't believe it. There was no way a person could survive that fall. The roof was high, even from this part of the house. Without thinking, I sprinted closer, but before I could stop them, they jumped. The sound of their body hitting the ground was deafening. I couldn't process what I had just seen. How could someone jump off our roof without shattering every bone in their body? But before I could fully comprehend the madness of the situation, the person got up, covered in blood, my blood, and charged at me. They tackled me to the ground, their grip like iron, and started clawing at my face, like they were trying to rip my face off. I screamed and kicked, but I couldn't get them off me. They were stronger than anything I had ever imagined. My thoughts were clouded by panic and pain, and I thought, for a moment, that this was it. I wasn't going to make it out of this. But just as I thought I was going to die, I heard the back door crash open. My dad was there. His voice, angry and urgent, cut through the chaos as he pulled the person off me. I don't know how he managed it, but somehow he got them off of me. The person broke free and ran into the yard, scaling the fence with unnerving speed before disappearing into the night. My dad and I stood there, frozen, as the sounds of the person's footsteps faded into the woods. I had to go to the hospital that night. I had lost so much blood, and the doctors had to give me all sorts of shots to prevent any infections. I was a mess. My whole body ached, and I couldn't stop shaking. Thankfully, my teeth were fine, and I didn't need any further dental work. I felt a strange relief that, at least in that regard, the night hadn't ruined everything. The police weren't much help though. They said they couldn't search the woods, and security cameras would have prevented the whole thing. I remember being so frustrated, feeling like they weren't taking me seriously. My dad later discovered that the person on the roof had been trying to break into our attic, just like an animal trying to burrow in. But there were no answers as to why. No answers as to who that person was, or how they had found our house, or why they decided to target us. And if that wasn't enough, things took a strange turn again a few months later. I was at home alone with my girlfriend when something unsettling happened. That's when I started hearing strange sounds outside, again tapping, scratching. It all started with a noise coming from the driveway. The same eerie, unsettling feeling crept up my spine as I listened to the sounds. I thought it was an animal, maybe a raccoon digging through the trash, but the tapping kept going. The noise sounded too deliberate, too purposeful. I thought about ignoring it, but the feeling of dread wouldn't let me. I decided to check it out, but when I went outside, I found the trash cans overturned. I shone the flashlight around, but there was no animal in sight. The noise had stopped, but the hairs on the back of my neck were standing on end. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I didn't realize how wrong it was until I heard the tapping again, now coming from just outside my window. I froze. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest as I stared at the window, knowing something was out there. I looked out, and there, standing at the door, was a person tapping on the glass. I couldn't believe it. It was too similar to what had happened before. My stomach dropped, and fear surged through me like electricity. The person didn't seem to notice me at first, but then they turned around. And that's when I saw it. Their face, it was melting. The skin was sagging and shriveled, like something out of a nightmare. I recoiled, stumbling backward as I screamed and rushed to lock the door. I grabbed my phone and called the police, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold it. When they arrived, they didn't find anything, not a trace. No sign of forced entry, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, that the nightmare wasn't over yet.